In this video, I will try to give you as much information as possible on why you need the portfolio website, how to build it, what projects to include, and what to pay attention to throughout the whole process. So let's start with the why. Is a portfolio actually necessary to land you your first web developer job? I wouldn't say so. But when you are aiming for those entry-level positions where companies are open in hiring individuals with little to no prior working experience, having a well-organized portfolio in place can really set you apart from your competition. Think of it as your own online advertisement billboard, a place where every recruiter who gets his hand on your application can go to and check out your work real time with minimal effort. And it also proves to them on spot that you're capable of building and deploying things. Beyond the practical part, having a well-organized portfolio in place shows that you are really willing to invest the time and effort in doing things that increase your value for the market. So how should you structure it? Let me show you what I did with mine. Well, I went with 4 distinct parts. The landing section, right after that my projects, then some general info about me, and in the end, all my contact information. So let me dive into each one of them separately. Starting with the landing section, you have to make sure that 3 things are in place. First, a brief description about yourself, who you are and what you're doing. Second, something that will really grab the attention of the viewer. It doesn't have to be fancy, but just try to be creative and create something that will really set your portfolio apart from all the others and make it unique. For example, I included this little responsive shape that I created using Three.js, the popular JavaScript library. And third, a button that leads to your contact so they can reach you with minimal effort. Right after this introduction section, you want to include the thing that they're here for, which is none other than your projects. For each project, you want to make sure that some standard things are in place. The name of the project, along with a small description and some pictures just to give them an idea of what it is about. The technologies and the tools that you use to build this project. This is a great opportunity to showcase your tech stack and also show what you are already comfortable working with. And the most important, 2 links. One for the live demo of the application and one for the GitHub repository of the project. Keep in mind that your actual portfolio is your GitHub repositories, and this web page is just a way to advertise it to people that are not familiar with coding, because the probabilities are that you will get invited for that first interview by someone who has close to 0 coding experience. And this is also the reason that you want to include a link to the live demo of the application, because remember, initially, you will be judged by someone who cannot really appreciate your coding skills, but can definitely appreciate a pixel-perfect UI along with a pleasant browsing experience. Moving to the third section, here you want to display any information you believe gives value to you as an individual related to the positions you are applying for. For example, I included my university degree, the types of position I think I can manage at this point, and how many projects I have built. Also, I included this fancy carousel that displays all the tools that I've used over the past years. Just to give you some ideas, if you have participated to any conference or any bootcamp, it's a good idea to include a certificate here. I think that online courses don't really count, and it's a good idea to not include them in here. In the last section, you want to include all your contact information, your email, your phone, WhatsApp, any social profiles, for example, LinkedIn, GitHub. Just make sure that if someone lands on your page and wants to contact you, he can do so in a couple of seconds with minimal effort. I don't really have any more tips to give you for that. Just make sure that it is clean and pretty. Now, what projects to include? Well, first of all, I think that 2 to 5 projects is a rational goal. Try to start with the absolute basics and then try to expand your tech stack by adding 1 or 2 new technologies on every new project. In my example, this Crypto Live was my first worthwhile web application. As you can see, I wrote it using vanilla JavaScript and SCSS. No React, no backend, just a simple, basic vanilla JavaScript application with some API calls. And the reason I went straight on using SCSS is that At this point, I had already built 2 other web projects, so I was already pretty familiar and comfortable on working with CSS, so I wanted to try something new. Once I finished with the basics of JavaScript, I jumped straight to React and I built a couple of projects while coding along with the course. When I felt comfortable on working with React and its ecosystem, I went straight ahead and built my second big project, which is this eShop. As you can see, for this application, I used React, Redux, and React Router, which are the basics of the React ecosystem. I also tried some more complex API calls because I wanted to get more and more comfortable with that. Right after that, I started working with TypeScript. The leap from JavaScript to TypeScript was pretty easy to me and took me about a week. But this happened because I had already a pretty strong foundation in typed languages, since I was actively building Android applications using Kotlin while I was in the university. So I would highly advise you to really give some time to TypeScript and probably dedicate a whole project into learning how to use it. I'm pretty sure that by now the pattern is clear to you. Each new project introduces one new technology. Since everything is relatively new to you, you really have to give yourself the time to get comfortable and familiar with the new technologies before jumping to the next thing. Remember that small increments can lead to a significant improvement over a longer time frame. So at this point, having 3 complete projects in my portfolio, 2 web applications and 1 Android application, which was my thesis, I felt pretty ready to start applying for vacancies. And before I knew it, I already had my first interviews. One of the companies was really interested in my skills, so they gave me an assignment and a week to finish it. Since that was a front-end position, I created a front-end application using all the technologies and the tools I had learned up until this point. And they rejected me, but that's totally fine, because I ended up with 1 new project for my portfolio, which also was the best project so far, because I really pushed myself to deliver the highest possible result I could at this the highest possible result I could for this point, and also the experience of going through that interview process. The point I'm trying to make is that once you have built those 2 to 3 first projects and you are really comfortable on working with TypeScript and React, go ahead and start applying for vacancies. There is no reason to delay it. And the worst thing that can happen is that you end up with more experience. But that doesn't mean that you don't want to expand your knowledge and your portfolio even further. So for the next and 4th project, I would advise you to build something that will help you get your hands on either server-side rendering using Next.js or a full-stack application using the MERN stack. This will really help you understand better why and how the data is flowing from the back of an application to the front, and why certain things are happening. I really think that after those 4 to 5 projects, you are pretty much 100% ready to be hired as a junior, and you really have to shift your attention from learning to actively applying and searching for a job. Before I wrap it up, I really want to give you some general tips for the whole process. First, try to build things that are interesting to you. Your goal is not to build something with a real world use case here, but to improve your skills and expand your tech stack. This way, if you are focused on things that are really enjoyable, you will keep yourself motivated throughout the whole process. So it's more likely to be consistent with your learning. For example, I really enjoy going to the gym and optimizing my training. And this is why my first really big project was this Hypertrophy Coach Android application. I really remember struggling to understand all these new to me concepts at the time, and really pushing through the struggle just because I wanted to see the finished product and what it can actually do. Second, build your portfolio website after your first 2 to 3 big projects. As I mentioned, this is going to be your personal advertisement page, and you want it to be pixel perfect. This way you will be able to utilize all the things that you learned in the previous project to deliver something that can really grab the attention of the viewer. Also, it's a really good break from your learning process. At least that's how it felt for me. Because I was only working with technologies I knew, I didn't have to learn anything new, and my only concern was basically to build something really cool and creative. Third, if you already have a company in mind that you want to work for, it's a pretty good idea to align your tech stack and your learning with the tech stack of the company. So if the company is using Vue or Angular instead of React, try to focus your learning in those ecosystems. Also try to build projects that are relevant to the product of the company. So if they are selling online, try to build even a basic e-shop, and I'm pretty sure that it will be highly appreciated. And for the fourth and last tip, which in my opinion is the most important, you have to keep in mind that the whole process of getting yourself job ready and hire ready is not something that is going to happen in a couple of months. It's a process that might take 6, 8, 12 months. In my case, I was already learning for over a year before I got my current position. So don't let the fact that you are not where you want to be discourage you from getting there. If you want some more tips that will help you in the whole procedure of getting job ready, you can check my other 2 videos on how to schedule your learning and how to approach learning anything to maximize your results. I hope you really gained some value from this video and you already started thinking on what projects to include on your very own portfolio.